right there. Boom. It's the whole stream, bro. All right. Well, if you guys, aloha everybody. If you guys are watching from the YouTube channel, today we're going to be making a speed tick video with Makeitabud. You might be wondering what it is, what's it all about. You're about to find out. Yeah. So I'll let you go ahead and take it away from here, Makeitabud. I'd like to learn a little bit more about this as well myself.
Sure. So essentially, thanks for having me, by the way.
Of course.
And going into this, ticks are essentially how in Summer's world we measure time, right? So you want to think about how many, right? In the human world, we look at time as seconds. In the Summer's world, we look at them as ticks, right? It's an arbitrary unit in which a certain number of ticks dictates how many turns you're going to take, right? And that's dependent on speed. So we can go down the bullets on the introduction and basics, right? But again, ticks are a measurement of time. Each time a tick transpires, your attack bar moves up by a certain amount.
Okay.
The amount that attack bar moves up by is 7% of your total speed.
Okay.
Total meaning after tower, after speed lead. What is that? All in speed. Take 7% of that. That's what percent of your attack bar moves up by.
Okay, and this is pertinent for players trying to figure out the details of how fast their monsters move in potentially correlation to their opponents in arena and in RTA mostly, right? But this also pertains in PvE content, or pretty much everything, right?
It pertains to a lot of aspects. So it's useful in both PvE and PvP. In PvE, you can use it to determine what's the minimum amount of speed I need to hit a certain tick level. So let's say you want to be a 7-tick unit or an 8-tick team, right? What's the minimum amount of speed there so that you're not wasting stats having like a 7.5-tick unit?
All right, and a tick occurs every time one unit moves. Is that correct?
No, a tick. Think of it as a second, right? It's constantly moving, but once every tick occurs, your attack bar moves. Does that make sense?
No.
No. Okay. So think of it as,
because I only see the attack bar move once a unit moves. Like let's say you have a team of eight units, right? 8 monsters. Yeah. When unit 1 moves, I see all the attack bars move on everybody, right? And that unit who moved, its attack bar goes to 0.
Yep. So let me clarify a bit further. So when a unit moves, that means its attack bar is hit 100, right?
Correct.
But how did its attack bar hit 100? It had to gain attack bar to get to 100, right? In order to get to 100 attack bar, you got to gain attack bar. The increments in which it gains that attack bar is 7% of its total speed every tick.
Okay.
So every second, let's call it a second, right? Second, let's call it every second. Forget ticks, call it a second, right?
Okay.
Every second, it is gaining 7% of its total speed in attack bar.
And once you hit 100%, you move, as long as you are the highest. You know what I mean? Because you can have over 100%, right?
Yep. And so once you hit that 100%, your attack bar hits 0, and then you restart the process.
Ah, okay. So that's why sometimes units that are like really fast, even though like a unit that's really, really fast and a unit that's really, really slow, even though the slow unit is very close to getting 100% attack bar or has 100%, that fast unit passes it sometimes because that next tick gave it more attack bar than it basically, right? So it can potentially lap him.
Exactly. That's why, for example, those of you that are Diana users, when you gain 100% attack bar after your second skill, you hit 100% attack bar. But if something was at like 98, but it's speed, it's gaining more attack bar per second or per tick, right? Whatever you want to call it, pushes it over the Diana, right? Then the Diana gets cut.
So that's why I think a lot of players, when you guys watch people use Diana, sometimes you might ask yourself, hey, why did that player not use change forms and use Diana's second skill? It's because it was a risk. If they were to do that, they would risk the chance that the opponent would be able to surpass 100% with that next tick and cut in. Is that correct?
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was watching a person's statement about bioprocs. when a bioproc happens, the tick does not advance.
Okay. Yo, Codex, thank you for the 2 months, man. Welcome back. Appreciate the support, dude.
But think of it as a unit in time. A tick is a unit in time. It could be second, it could be whatever it is. But, every increment of this time, right, you're gaining attack bar. Until something hits 100. and then that thing takes its turn. If nothing's at 100, nothing takes its turn, right? You don't see it, but nothing takes its turn, and you move on to keep taking ticks until something takes a
turn. Okay. So I guess in general, 7% of your total speed, that's everything included, leader skill, if any, towers and everything, will lead you to how much percent per tick you get, how much attack bar percent you get. And you get 100%, you get to move. Or the person with the highest percent at that moment will get to move next. After a unit moves, its attack bar goes back to 0. That's the general basis of it, right?
Correct. So it can tell you things such as which unit on your team is going to move first, which unit on your opponent's team is going to move first, right? Which one's going to move second. You can get really specific to say, if I'm boosting with the Tiana skill, right? I think it gives, or Tiana Bastet, and it gives you that 25 or 30% attack buff. And then on the next tick, you can say, okay, how fast does my second unit or third unit need to be to not get cut, right? And you can take it one step further to say, what speed units are going to cut me and what will not? What's the risk I'm willing to take?
DGP says something ticks a turn. And some Regandan says, after each monster's turn, there is 1 tick.
Yeah,
is that thinking of it the right way?
Yeah, after anything takes a turn, the tick keeps moving, right? It takes a turn, the tick moves. It doesn't take a turn.
Right, so that's what I was asking earlier. So every time a unit takes a turn, all the units on the field gain a tick, whatever their percent tick is. Is that correct?
Even if they're not taking a turn, they're still gaining their attack bar. The tick still
No. When one unit moves, all of them gain the attack bar tick. You know, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I mean,
is that how it works?
Even the unit that took the turn, let's say it evenly hits 100%, it takes its turn, the next tick it's at whatever the attack bar gain per tick is. The others gain theirs, it gains its own. Right. So let's look at a table, for example. The one that's labeled dynamic example, how the turn plays out. Right. If you look at the tick number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can see that at tick 1, here's the attack bars of each. Now finally you hit tick 5 and something's going to take a turn down there.
So you're talking about the dynamic example, right?
Yeah, I'm just using a more tangible example in case it's easier to follow.
Tick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Right. And so you can tune it or you can set it so that, you know, let's say you have a 240 unit. Well, obviously its attack bar gains can be a lot less over time and the other units are in front. This is just a more like a numerical way to show what's actually going on at each point in time.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and so when you get into it a little bit more advanced RTA and stuff, you hear a lot of players talk about like 4 tick, 5 tick. So what does that mean? I can see that over here.
Yeah,
tick and minimum speeds.
Let's call it ticks or seconds, right? If it's easier to understand. But 4 tick means it takes 4 units of time or 4 seconds or 4 ticks to get your 100% attack bar to take a turn.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, otherwise, it takes 5 units of this time to get a turn.
Right.
Or 6, right? If it's 6 tick, we just call 4, 5, 6 tick to say think of them as tracks, right? A 4 tick unit, every 4 units of time should take a turn. That's when it's up at that 100%.
Okay. And quick question as well as so high level RTA players, what are usually their units ruined on? Like 5 tick, most likely?
I mean, it depends. So like the Gannies and the controllers are typically at the 5 tick or higher. Not really 4 tick, but it also becomes I want my 5 tick unit to move in front of his 5 tick.
So they purposely try to ruin specific units over these tick thresholds in order to
if they are aware of ticks, but where the ticks come into play is what's the minimum. Where it comes into play is, let's look at a tangible example here. Let's look at Ganymede on the dynamic level high chart, the high level chart.
Okay.
See how the yellow cells are where you can fill in whatever speed you want. You see how 269 there. Observe the orange cell on the right. Now change that 269 to 268.
Can I change it?
Tell me what happens.
Oh, I can't do it on here. I actually have to go to the actual page. This is just to view. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you were to change it to 268, this becomes a 6 tick unit.
Right, because it's below the threshold of the 285.71, right?
Correct, because now look at the column to the right. It says total speed, right? Right. So you're over the total speed needed to be at a 5 tick unit.
I see. So players can actually use this. These are the actual total speeds that they will need to be at these ticks, right? So this is actually a really important chart that they can look at to rune up their units for certain speeds to, you know, be kind of synergize with one another for whatever rank that they're playing in.
Yeah, I mean, and I see a lot of members of chat are getting hung up over the word tick. You can call it a Summoner's War second. You can call it whatever you want. It's just a unit of time. Like, think on your watch, right? We count time in seconds. It could be any block of time. It's like a unit. Okay. You call it a...
D-Heezy, thank you for the brand new Prime sub, man. Yeah, appreciate that. Refresh the browser, rep those emotes, D-Heezy. Appreciate it very much, bro.
You can't use the toggles then, right? On the left, if I say speed lead, yes or no, can you click that?
No, it's I have to go into the site. This is just a view. This is viewable only.
Because I was going to use this example to show why my Molong is at 277, or why my Gan. You asked me the other time why the Gannies at 269 are not faster. Because right now you see that Molong clearly moves in front of Ganymede here, right?
Right. So basically, the reason why you I think what you told me, the reason why you run your Ganny not faster is because you want it to move after Molong, right?
Correct. But without the speed lead, it does move after. But if I toggle this to a speed lead, it flips. And
okay, that makes sense. Because of their base speeds, it pushes Ganny too much faster.
Correct, and that distance is 277, I believe.
Interesting.
I just kind of use this as a placeholder example.
Interesting.
But, so I when I do this on my own, I use a toggle to say, you know, if Ganny's at 269, right, what minimum speeds Molong need to be? If my Molong goes from 277 up to 280, how fast can I bring my Ganny up? Those are questions I can answer.
I see.
So I know that was probably confusing for a lot, but
I think the most confusing thing that I think people will get caught up on is ticks and seconds. You know what I mean? Like how they can't, like, even me right now, I'm trying to grasp that idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it took me a while to understand that too. It's a
because most people will assume a tick is when one unit moves, that's a tick. But that's not the case, right? Because many ticks can occur before or in between units that move. Is that correct or not?
That's correct. I mean, imagine you got units with, like, let's say 100 speed, right?
Right.
Think about if it's at 100 speed, I mean, it's going to be gaining, let's say 100 all in, you're going to be gaining 7% of an attack bar.
Right. So it's just a kind of arbitrary measurement of time, ticks, right? Ticks, correct. Seconds, whatever it is. And the best example to kind of explain why that is let's say, for example, there's a unit that's runed on 1,000 speed and a unit that's runed on 100 speed, right? You can't necessarily say that after one unit moves, it's a tick, right? Because that first turn when, you know, that 1,000 speed unit is at 100% attack bar, the other unit will be at, you know, like very, 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 very little attack bar. Because, you know, the amount of ticks that occurred in between, right? Is so large of a gap.
That's where you see lapping happen, right? It's where a unit is, say, a 9-tick unit or something really, really slow. And something is a 3-tick unit. Well, then in theory, you're going to get 3 times more turns.
That's the best example. If there is such thing as a 1-tick unit, right? You will notice that a 1-tick unit, like, that's a ridiculous amount of speed, right? But a 1-tick unit will lap. Right? Will constantly lap a unit that has lower ticks. Is that correct?
Pretty much, until the lower tick catches up and gets to that 100%.
Right, but then each time the unit is lapping, it's having a turn. And so the turn is not technically considered a tick. You see what I'm saying? So we don't get people confused. Because when they hear tick, they think turn, you know? So it's not the case.
Sure.
Just want to clear that up.
The turn is a byproduct. The turn happens once something hits 100% attack bar. It's just that the tick allows you to get that attack bar going.
Here's a good question. Explain Leo's speed tick mechanism.
Leo's just pegs everything at Leo's speed. It's less about ticks and more about what Leo does. It's just everything's at Leo's speed, but the turn order is dependent on the original speed that they were at.
Right. So the only thing that the original speed matters in that case is when at the initial beginning of the match. After that, it doesn't matter, correct? Everybody's just at the same speed ticks. Moving.
Correct, but you're in the turn order for the rest of the match. Right?
Unless, you know, things get, you know, moved around.
Or Leo smacks it or things like that.
Right. So that one's very easy, easy answer. All right, so let's hear about this this other thing I saw here down here with Sierra. This example with Sierra and Sierra critting to get an attack bar, right?
Sure. So this is taking speed ticks to another level and just trying to show you one application, what it can be used for. I'll be honest, if your chat does not understand the top, they won't understand the bottom. But for those that do, this will be very...
Well, you know, the thing is that I wanted to make this video. I mean, it can be very complicated, even for me to understand, but it's going to be a video that's going to be out there for people to be able to understand the basics of it if they care.
Sure.
And if they don't care, then, you know, they wouldn't really, you know, look into these advanced details. But there's going to be players out there who are mid-game, end-game, who, you know, don't understand these yet. And they might be able, they might get intrigued and, you know, get a little bit more informed from these. So we'll get a wide range of people that'll be viewing this.
I guess if you're watching the video, if you can always pause and hit rewind and kind of watch the beginning of it. But essentially, ticks are a way to answer how much of an attack bar you're getting every unit of measurement. And the lower the number of ticks, the more turns you're going to take. Right? We're cool on that. We agree on that. This example down here is a Sierra. Sierra on skill 1 gains 15% of an attack bar per crit, right?
Flat 15%, right?
Correct. So you got 3 scenarios. It either crits once, twice, or 3 times.
Okay.
Or 0, actually. I should have drawn in a 0, but my bad.
We'll consider it.
So if it crits 1 time, it gains 15% attack bar, meaning it needs 85% attack bar left to take a turn.
Right. Simple math,
if it crits
100,
twice, right? If it crits twice, it's at 30% attack bar. It needs 70% more to take a turn.
Correct.
Again, one step further, if you crit 3 times, you got 45% attack bar. And you need 55% attack bar left to take a turn.
Right.
So in each scenario, critting once, twice, or 3 times, you need to fill different amounts of attack bar to take a turn.
Okay.
You can use the attack bar you're gaining per tick to figure out how many ticks you need to take a turn.
So this is knowledgeable when you're using your Sierra actively every single turn, right? Your Sierra gets a turn, you drop a bomb, and then you use skill 1. Now you know how many more ticks you need at the current speed your Sierra is to get another turn. And you can kind of see how many turns your Sierra will cycle in front of other units, right?
Correct. And so if you want to take that bottom table and scroll down a bit, but essentially...
Oh, it doesn't let me go anymore.
Okay. Oh, this is an image. This is an image paste.
Yeah, I think so, probably.
Oh, damn. Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's all good. So essentially, right, if it only crits once, you need 5 more ticks at that speed level to hit the next turn, right? If it crits 3 times, you need 3 more ticks. If you look at the chart up there, a 3-tick unit's not even up there. It's equivalent to like 400 some speed or something, something really high. So that is another application to say, okay, what speed do I want my Sierra to be? And you can apply probabilities to 1 crit, 2 crit, 3 crits based off of your Sierra's crit rate. And to say, what is my expected number of, what is my expected tick level on this?
I see. Okay. And so some people are asking questions about Nemesis as well.
Okay, Nemesis. So again, the concept of ticks is all about how much attack bar you have at any given tick, any given moment. So if Nemesis increases your attack bar by say 4%, you just add 4% to your total attack bar at that moment, and it's applied at the next tick.
Right. So whatever the math is for Nemesis, like how much damage you take and loss to the percent that you gain, you just add it in. Similar to how Sierra gains 15 per crit, right? Whatever you get for the Nemesis, you would just give it instantly at the moment of damage taken, I guess you can say.
Correct. So let's say a Praha was getting 20 attack bar per tick. Right? Okay. Let's say it's evenly at a 25 tick unit, 20% attack bar per tick. Molong crashes into it, you lose half your health, right? So that's about, probably about, let's see, 4 times 8, so 28% attack bar it's adding, right? You follow that on the Nemesis, right? It gains 28% on top of the next tick being, setting it to 100. So at tick 5, it is now 128%.
So it's probably going to cut in between whatever else it was about to go next. Even if your opponent had a higher tick unit than you that was supposed to move right after. It's going to cut right in. And that's why you see Nemesis, so powerful in cutting, right? Some people, you guys see those Nemesis Trianas out there. They're out there to kind of counteract those Molongs, right? To cut in, which is the exact example that Bud just gave. Except he said it to a Sierra, but I'm just changing it to a Triana, right? To cut in.
Exactly. I mean, it could be any Nemesis. You can use it for boosters, right? you can use it for boosters to say, I have a Tiana moving. I have my Lucian underneath that is at 220. My opponent has an Oki. What speed of an Oki am I scared of that will cut me and what will not? You can find that exact number. And this was actually asked of me when one of my friends was prepping for SWC. The question was, what speed does my Oki need to be to cut the units underneath the Tiana? So we can calculate that.
One player is saying that you can kind of see ticks occur when your team is fully CC'd.
I'm sure you can. You see the attack bar moving.
Yeah, like your whole team is CC'd, and then since nobody's taking a turn yet, but since nobody's taking a turn, you can see the ticks going in between, right? And their attack gauge is gaining because they're CC'd.
Exactly. I mean, you can even take it a step further too, right? The whole thing is about attack bar per at any given time, right? What if Rakuni speed buffs something? What tick is it on? You change the track that it's on.
Right, because it gets that speed 30%. Buff.
Exactly.
Right.
Or let's say Rakuni does its skill 1, it gains 15%. Right? It changes the speed tick. Or like when I speed tune my Amduat, I'm assuming my opponent takes 2 turns every time. What speed do I need to be at the right optimal tick level? A lot of this ends up for tuning and also optimal usage of stats. So statting your stuff, right? Because I used to have my Perna at 221. The tick level is for 6 tick is 222 on a Perna. Right. So that was a giant
222 because you get towers. That's right. Exactly. We'll put you at 238. I see.
Exactly. Yep. And so being at 221 is an utter disaster for Perna because you're healing your team, quite a bit less.
That's awesome. I mean, I guess this is very interesting, and I know it's not going to interest everybody out there, but it's interesting to see that there's a pretty big math behind this. So I mean, one thing to take away is yeah, bro, whoever does the coding at ComToUS, man, like, give that guy a freaking raise, man, because can you imagine coding all this in? And like, because there's math behind everything, right? On who gets to move, when, where. So can you imagine all the mechanics of all the different units that they make with all the skills? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, from their perspective, it's a pretty simple line of code in terms of 7% is their hard-coded number. That's the speed, that's the attack bar per unit.
But the coding of when people rune up their units, as well as their towers, their speed of their towers. When units get base attack gauge increases like Sierra or Rakuni, right, and different effects coming into play at every single moment. That's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean that's the
sounds complicated, but I guess for some of the coders, maybe it's super easy coding. I don't know. It sounds very complicated.
As long as the big takeaway from this is think about how much of an attack bar you're gaining every unit of time, right? And how that changes, and what's the most optimal way to be a faster unit.
That's crazy. I can't comprehend this. All these people are like, we're coders, and this is probably the easiest part of coding. That's crazy, man. Okay, I guess maybe well, honestly, I don't understand coding, so yeah.
It's okay, I don't either. This is just, it took me a while. It just kind of clicked one day, but once you understand the attack bar gain or attack bar at any given time, you can use it in game to decide a lot of things, or as you're ruining your lineup. There's a lot of considerations.
That's interesting. So yeah, like I said again, guys, I hope this kind of helps you guys out, for some of the people that, don't care too much. At least now you know that this kind of things exist. For the people that care a little bit, I think, like for me, what's most important is this chart right here. This chart right here is very nice. Coming into FRR, I'm curious to see how I rune my units, right? What tick my units will be, and if I want to try to strive to, hit a certain tick, just the same as when you're runing up a unit and trying to strive to get certain stats on that unit, like enough HP, enough crit rate. Now you can potentially add that next layer of factor or standards to your units on seeing if you could rune it to a certain tick or total speed. Yeah, after, so I think that's something interesting. And of course, the people that are, more in depth and more detailed, right, and you want to know more about speed tuning, everything, you want to be, top level player, you want everything top notch, like Makeitabud here, you want to speed tune all your units to more detail. Maybe you want to, take the Excel, and we'll definitely put this Excel somewhere. We'll make a Google Doc, yeah, so people can use it and people can check it out. And I think your equations will be here so people can plug in stuff into it. I don't know.
Sure. It's not exactly the cleanest thing because I whipped it up in an hour and there's some hidden columns in it.
Yeah.
But people can do whatever the hell.
Yeah, we'll share it in Discord first, and then we also will see if we can get it somewhere and put it in the description for the video as well for you guys to at least check out. But yeah. Anything else with that? That was most of it, right? That's That's everything about ticks?
I mean, as far as I know, it's just that's the basic concept of it. It's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. The more complicated part is the applications of it and deciding when things are going to cut you and what kind of risk you can take.
I'm sure you use this formula and this knowledge into detail when you ruined up every single one of your units and how they synergize with one another.
Yeah, so I've had this for about a year, and I use it constantly to tune my lineup to make sure my Molong goes in front of Gani. Yep. For those that are one step further, for those that are really going to pay attention to this stuff, Comp2us only looks at attack bar per tick to one significant figure. And I know this because I tuned my Gani, Molong, and Eludia to a really tight tuning, and my turn order was all whack in game.
Oh, so they just round. The system just rounds
it. Exactly. It rounds one digit after the decimal.
Does it round? Does it round and put them all at the same and then just go from left to right, like how units are? Well,
it goes based off of your draft turn, right?
Right.
At that point, if they equate them. So I was fighting this G2, and all of a sudden my Gani moved before my Ludia. I was scared shitless, like, holy shit, I'm going to lose 15 points here.
Oh my god.
Luckily pulled out okay, but figured out from that point that it's because the tuning is so tight, there's an actual rounding thing going on.
Oh, so they'll just take the one that's the highest. They round it. Okay.
They round, exactly.
Interesting. Death Scythe 808, thank you for 2 months, man. I appreciate that. Welcome back. But yeah, Makeitabud, thank you for your time, man. Appreciate you coming in and sharing us the knowledge on this. I mean, I never knew all the details to this. This is definitely going to be very useful for a lot of players who want to learn about it and who want to rune up their units and speed tune things and fine tune their combos that they're going to use in wherever it is in the game. If you guys don't know, Makeitabud does streams from time to time. I know you're busy, right? But you stream once in a while, like once, twice, couple times a month, right? Yeah,
I'll be moving in the next couple of weeks, so I won't. Today may be my last one where I'm doing re-ups for a friend and then punishing G1s and G2s. But yeah, I don't do it often, no rigor behind it, just kind of ad hoc.
Yeah, but if you guys want to check him out, he's on Twitch under Makeitabud. He's all the social medias, yeah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tinder, all under Makeitabud. So make sure you guys check him out. No, I'm just kidding about the other stuff. But yeah, he's on Twitch under Makeitabud. So definitely check him out. But yeah, thank you guys. And if you guys are watching the YouTube video, definitely leave your comments below. I'm curious. I bet you there's gonna be a lot of comments of just question marks. You know, people that are just confused, right? And then there'll be comments of people who are actually genuinely, you know, get this stuff and is super interested in, you know. So leave me a comment below on your thoughts. You know, just be honest about it. And yeah, thank you again, Makeitabud. I appreciate that.
No problem, and good luck on your re-ups later.
Thank you. Yeah, hello everybody.